Welcome, everybody. Today, we're going to be talking about that comparison trap that we can all fall victim to and how you can break from it by trusting your unique path that you're on, even when it feels like everyone else is ahead of you. All right? Now, this is something that, honestly, when we talk about comparison, it can be uncomfortable for most people, but it is truly a conversation and a talk that is honest, and it is needed so much, especially as a parent who is maybe stressed and overwhelmed and trying to make more and do more and be so much more for their family, or the entrepreneur who's trying to rekindle with that passion and excitement so they can keep pressing forward and growing, or if you're maybe an employee who is stuck in that daily grind and trying to leave work each day feeling more fulfilled or find that next evolution of who you are. Like, this is really important to have this conversation. So let me tee up the idea with a couple of questions to kind of plant it for you. So do you ever catch yourself in the middle of, I don't know, you're scrolling or you're watching someone else hit some sort of a milestone, they land that dream job or they launch the new thing, and then suddenly like you already feel like you're behind. Maybe you're a parent who's thinking, why does their family look so calm and connected, and mine just feels like it's chaos, maybe controlled chaos, but chaos. Or you're that entrepreneur watching someone else like blow up on social media while you're over here just trying to remember to check your email and get back to people on time. Or if let's say you're working a 9 to 5 and every time a coworker gets promoted, you feel like you're stuck in that same spot, wondering if you missed the memo on how to get ahead in life. Now, if any of that sounds familiar, let me just say this to you. You're not alone in any way. And it's not something that's off inside of you. It's not that you're broken or anything along those lines. You're not behind or lesser than any of those people. You're just caught in a loop that almost all of us get stuck in at some point, and that's measuring our progress against somebody else's timeline. And trust me, I have lived in that space. I lived in that space for many, many years, and it's hard to not fall back into it. I've played the mental game that goes on in your head, and all it ever did was just drain my own confidence and make me second guess the one path that I was actually meant to be on, which is mine, which has got me to where I am today. But what starts to change is a whole lot of people that I've worked with, and that even principles I've put in for myself, the things that start to change that for you. And the thing I plant that starts to hopefully open your eyes a little bit is that the confidence that you need for that doesn't come from catching up to someone else. It's actually from, slowing down long enough to actually reconnect with what actually matters to you, and then building on it from there and going through some sort of an evolution cycle as a part of that. Now, in case you're wondering, my name is Jake Talbert. I'm the founder. I'm the author of this book called The Giver Method. It is an Amazon bestseller, tons of 5-star reviews. It's been out since November, so in just 5-6 months, it's been helping thousands of people to find and discover and develop their gifts and superpowers, create more value for people, and to start having better relationships, living a more fulfilled life, and creating greater impact in whatever aspect of their life that they want to do. Now, when I wrote this, and as I focus on people, I focus a lot on the people who are the busiest in life, because I've been there. I've been the parent and spouse who is stressed and overwhelmed and frustrated. I've been in the entrepreneur space feeling like we're disconnected from what we're doing. I've been the employee working for a large organization feeling like another cog in the wheel. And so I like to share all these things. So the principles, everything that's taught here, I've seen for myself, but I've seen thousands of other people start to put it into motion and see amazing changes in their life. So I'll put a link down in the description. Go get access to it. It will be absolutely amazing for you. Now, today, I want to walk you through some of the practical steps that we do teach that help you to stop comparing yourself and start trusting your own growth pace and actually feel good about the path that you're on right now, even if it doesn't look like somebody else's path, okay? Because you were never meant to live somebody else's story. You've got a completely different role to play in the world, and the world needs what only you can give. So it's all good. Just take a deep breath, and we're going to start to drop that comparison as we go through this content. Now, before we dive in, if you are new here, please hit subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. I don't want you to miss out on any other videos we have like this. Stuff that's going to help you to rediscover those strengths and actually use them to make an impact that you were meant to make. I'll also put down in the description links to some free resources, to where you can find us on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or our website, thegivermethod.com. Go follow us, go check us out, go see all the things that we can do to help you out. Cool? So let's get to work. Let's build something that feels way more like you again. So the first thing I want to talk about is this idea of the clarity compass is what I call it. But really what it means is like know your lane and stop swerving. Because one of the biggest reasons comparison gets such a grip on us, like it feeds off of confusion. You may not have thought that, but if you're not clear on what matters to you, it's way easy to start chasing what's working in everyone else's life. So here's what happens. Like you open up your social media, you maybe see someone else hit some sort of a milestone, they got a promotion, another big client, they went on some vacation, and suddenly you're questioning everything. Not because you actually want the thing that they have, but because it looks like success to you. So this is where this idea of a clarity compass comes in. It's about knowing what you're building. Not based on somebody else's definition, but your own. And honestly, most people haven't had the space or even given themselves the permission slip to slow down long enough and even ask, like, well, what does success look like to me? Or to go back and revisit that on a regular occasion. So I'm going to make it simple how you can do this. Once again, I want to focus all these exercises and things that we do, action items, towards you as a parent, an entrepreneur, the employee who's grinding away. Like I want to do these things that you can incorporate them into your day without overloading you. Okay? So what I want you to do is start by carving out a few minutes. It could be 2 to 5 minutes to start. In time, it'd be great if you could get yourself up to maybe 20 to 30 minutes and go do like a quiet check-in. Write down like what's your true north statement. You can ask yourself things like, when I strip away all the noise that's out there and actually, look at what matters most to me, what is it? And what kind of impact do I want to have? And when do I feel the most authentic and the most like me as a part of that? Write your answers like nobody else is watching. We're not doing this for a resume or for a LinkedIn profile. It's for yourself. It's for your internal soul to be able to nourish itself with. And then, take a look at your day-to-day. Does your time, your energy, your attention reflect what you wrote? If you say family matters the most to you, but work eats up your bandwidth, like that's a signal. If you're like, man, creativity just lights me up, but your whole week is spreadsheets and errands and to-dos, like it might be time to look for some realignment. It's not about judgment, it's just being about aware of where you are. Now, here's where that move starts to change things for you. Like write your core values, that true north, and put them down somewhere where you'll see them. If you need help writing core values, go use something like ChatGPT or Claude. They'll help you come up with what your personal core values are, walk you through some exercises as a part of that. But whatever it ends up being, write it down, put it on a sticky note, put it on your screen, put it in the mirror, wherever it's going to be, so that when that comparison starts to creep in, you got something solid to come back to. You're not lost. You're living by someone else's map. And this is where you want to start to make it your own, because comparison only works when you don't have that sort of a compass to push you forward. Now, that pushes us into the second principle, the second step that you want to pay attention to. So there's this idea of reframing comparison. So it's how do you turn the scroll or the whatever you came across into fuel for yourself? Because let's be real, comparison isn't the enemy. It's human. Like it's just who we are. It's how we're wired. The problem isn't that you compare. It's what you do with the comparison when it shows up. Because comparison becomes a trap when most of us see it and it gets used to beat ourselves up. When you take someone else's, curated, filtered, finely tuned moment and hold it up next to your, behind the scenes chaos, suddenly you're not inspired anymore. You're actually discouraged or deflated and convinced that you're falling behind as a part of that. Now, that's where this idea of comparison reframe comes in. It's not about pretending you didn't notice someone else's wins. It's okay for other people to win and be successful. I encourage everybody to do that. But it's about shifting what it means to you. What do those moments look like to you? And stop making them a reason to maybe hold yourself back or to shrink back in any way. So this is how you start to reframe. So there's a couple of steps. The first one is, catch yourself in the act, for maybe the next week. Be super intentional to notice when maybe you're slipping into comparison. Don't judge yourself about it. Just be curious. Is it as you open Instagram? Is it when your colleague gets praised? Is it when you see someone launch something that you've been thinking about for years? Whatever it is, track it, write it down. What triggered it? How it made you feel? And what you started to believe in yourself? What were those thoughts going through your head? Now, this step alone, it's going to blow your mind when you start to realize how often we're doing it, because most of us don't even realize how much we're letting it shape our lives. And then so your second step for that is going to be how you shift that perspective and that lens. When that comparison trap hits, pause and ask yourself, okay, well, what don't I see here? What might they have overcome that maybe I haven't yet? or what can I learn from their story instead of maybe just judging mine against it? And so that turns it, their win into a reflection moment, a window, not a wall that you're hitting. And so instead of feeling threatened, you're opening it to looking for inspiration to kind of sneak back in for you. And then that leads you into the third part of this, which would be complete the story. When your brain starts writing out the narrative of well, they've got it all figured out, I'm a complete mess, and whatever yours sounds like, hit pause and remind yourself no one posts their anxiety spirals. No one live streams their self-doubt. No one puts their failed launches or tearful breakdowns, on their feed. The thing to remember is that they've got their own battles that you can't see, just like you have them. And they're fighting it out as they go, just like you are. So because when we think about it this way, when we don't reframe that comparison, it will hijack your focus and your belief, and you get caught up in your own head. Other people's success doesn't take anything away from you. There's always going to be room. There's more than enough. And the moment you realize that and you look at it from that, not a place of scarcity, you start to see more and more opportunities around you. And as you start to go after those opportunities, the universe finds the ways to pay you back as a part of that. Now, that's going to lead us into part of our next step. Now, the thing to remember is if you need to stop scrolling, as a part of that, then stop scrolling. Take your step away, or scroll smarter. Let's stop using other people's wins as the reasons to doubt ourselves. And so as a part of the third one, the evidence that you're going to collect for yourself, so start keeping the receipts of your own growth. It's simple as that. Something that sneaks up when you're stuck in that comparison mode, is the way that your brain tries to keep score. And guess what? Just spoiler alert, your brain doesn't play fair. Because here's the deal. Your brain is wired to spot what's wrong more than what's right. That just goes back to human instincts and who we are. That's how we stayed alive for centuries, by scanning for danger, not celebration. But now, that survival system is quietly undermining our growth. You're not just scrolling social media and seeing someone else's wins. You're comparing those wins to maybe your worst moments, their highlight reel against your behind-the-scene chaos. And your brain starts lighting up over their success. I want things like that, which you may or may not actually want them if you sit down and think about it. But you're ignoring what they've already gone through as a part of their growth to get there. And so that's why this is so important, why this being an evidence collector is so important. It's not about fake positivity. It's about, it's not about even I'm just going to have happy thoughts or whatever. Capture the proof of your progress and keep it where you can see it, especially when your brain wants to pretend it doesn't exist. So what you do, what's your proof of impact, but proof of concept? What's your proof of impact file or thing that you have? It could be a digital folder, like a Google Doc. It could be a notes app on your phone. It could be a journal by your bed. Every time something good happens, just the kind words people say, the problem you solved, the moment you handled something better than you did before, it goes in there. No filter, no downplaying, nothing like that. Just the facts. Make it simple. So if you're a parent, it might look like, hey, I stayed calm when bedtime went sideways today, and I don't normally do that. If you're an entrepreneur, it could be something like, hey, that one email where client said that my work has changed their week, made their life easier. I'm going to save that, or if you're an employee, my manager complimented my follow through or what I was doing. They don't have to be the headline wins. You did this amazing, ridiculous thing. They just have to be true and show that there is progress and growth happening. Then once a week, you review it. You just carve out a little bit of time where, it could be, let's say it's your Friday evidence check or your Sunday self-tune or my Monday motivation, whatever that is, and ask yourself cool, well, where did I show up with my gifts over the last week? How did I handle differently than I would have maybe a year ago? What moments of impact did I almost miss? And it's really awesome when you see that, and it feels even more rewarding when someone else calls those things out as well, where they're like, you know what? I love how you handled yourself when you got stuck up in the attic and you didn't have the right drill with you, and we had to put a hole so that you could get the thing up into it. You handled your stress and you were calm. There was no curse words. This is something that actually happened to me within the last few weeks, and it was having somebody else notice that the hard work is paying off, the growth is there. It's even more rewarding. But you don't need other people's approval. It just focus on it from yourself. Be proud of what it is in that moment for yourself. Write down at least 3 things that you did that you showed up differently. or maybe the ways that you could be doing something a little bit different, and then start building muscle from there. So if you really want to supercharge it, then you create the visual anchor, like it could be the wall of the thank you notes. Sticky notes on your mirror with quotes from someone who believes in you, or you screenshot the folder of text messages that remind you, you're making a difference. Like whatever it is, put it in a place where you see it. Could be plain sight. The places where maybe comparison tends to creep in. Maybe it's at your desk, or your phone, or a creative space. Like they're it's gonna matter so much to you because you're growing, you are making progress, and until you learn to see it, to track it, to celebrate it, and anchor it, you'll keep believing the lie that you're not getting there or that you're behind. Which takes us to the fourth of our I believe 6 principles, which is I call the gift and superpower activator. So let's be honest, stop overlooking what's already what's already yours and already inside of you. It's easy to spend years chasing after someone else's strengths while totally missing your own. You scroll past somebody who's crushing it in their business, and or building this, perfectly, aesthetic life, and your brain instantly goes I should be more like that. But here's what we don't talk about enough. You already have these gifts that could be your superpowers that other people wish came natural to them. That's one of the core things. So the Giver method, Giver's an acronym. The G is for your gifts and superpowers. Finding your gifts, developing these superpowers. Lots of times you're not disconnected from potential, because of it's not because you're lazy or you're behind. You're just disconnected from the things that you're the best at, that just come naturally to you. You don't even recognize them. You don't see them anymore. You've been walking around with these gifts for so long that they just almost maybe feel like background noise. Doesn't everybody like this? Doesn't everyone just get this? It's easy for people? Well, the short answer is no, they don't. That's your own genius that's inside of you. So this is why being a gift activator is so important. It's simple to then shift that, a way to help you stop ignoring these things that are so special to you, these superpowers, and using them with more purpose. So start by asking yourself, there's a whole bunch of things. So I'll put a free guide down in the resources as well called the Giver's Roadmap that helps you start to unpack some of these things like your gifts. But I'll walk you through a couple of the questions here. That way we can start at least keep the ball rolling. So ask yourself questions that help you to drown out the noise around you. So asking yourself things when do I feel the most alive? Fully me, not performing to anyone. What drains everyone else but really energizes me? What do people always come to me for, even if I haven't named it as some sort of a skill? Your gifts show up in the way, in all sorts of ways, and you just have to listen for them. It's how you organize the chaos. It's how you light up the room without even trying. It's how you spot patterns, connect dots, explain things, come up with things creatively. Whatever it is, it matters, and you don't realize that it combined with your experiences is the most amazing thing that you could go and give to the world. And it's likely the very thing that you've downplayed or brushed off because it doesn't look impressive like somebody else's. So, here's how you take a step further beyond that. Go for outside insight. Pick a few trusted people, friends and colleagues, or family, past clients, whomever, and say, when have you seen me at my best? What do you bring? What do I bring to the table that you feel is uniquely me? If you had somebody come to you and they were like, hey, I need help with, or I'm looking for someone who can, and you were like, oh my gosh, go talk to Jake, he's perfect at that. What would that thing be? You're going to be surprised how quickly themes start to emerge from that. And when they do, write them down. Because that's going to be a list of strengths. It's not fluff in any way. It's actually a foundation that you can build upon. And here's where it really starts to good. You start activating those gifts daily. And not by doing some crazy overhaul of your life. It's not about taking a career overhaul or quitting your job or I'm going to go follow my passion. I'm going to go get an RV and tour the world. No, I'm just talking about taking a few minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes in a day, and where you could use your gifts with more purpose. If you have a gift of making people feel more seen, then have that one more fully, where you're fully there conversation for them. If your gifts have something to do with creative problem solving, apply it to a challenge that you see in your life, or someone else's life. Or maybe if you're really good at tuning out the chaos, then take some time to organize something that maybe has overwhelmed you or overwhelmed somebody else. Find the ways that you can use it in the things you're already doing, in the walks you're doing with individuals, the bedtime with kids, the conversations with your team, your employee, your partner, whatever that could look like. Find those ways to do it, because when you are constantly focused on what you don't have, that comparison just really starts to take the wheel. But when you start seeing it from I already have all these things, and I can do so much more with them. You start contributing. You stop chasing those things that you feel like you are missing. The gift activator, it doesn't just help you feel better about yourself. It reconnects you with your power that you can have and go out into the world. And that's when you start living with your strengths. Comparison just loses grip on you completely. You are gifted. You got some special gifts, and it's time to stop waiting for someone else to name them. Like, you get to name it, you get to own it, and you, like, more importantly, get to use it to create greater impact in other people's lives. And then focus on it from this micro momentum builder. So the fifth one is like this idea of like, stop waiting, start stacking small things on top of each other. Now, this is, I've hinted at this again and again already, but we're going to really dive deep into the idea of like, you don't have to do something and overhaul your life. A little truth that no one tells you when you're starting to find yourself stuck in that comparison is like, you don't need some sort of massive breakthrough. You just need some sort of movement. It's not the leap. It's not the master plan. It's not the 30-day challenge. It's just, what's the one small doable step that actually happens? What's that micro momentum builder you have? Is, what that's what this idea is all about. Because like, if you think about it, when you're caught in the scroll watching or whatever it is for everyone else's milestones and wins, it's easy to think like, my gosh, if I can't match that level, like, why even start? Like, that, it feels so far away. And that's exactly how you get stuck. You overthink it, you overplan, you try to do it too perfect. You're trying to have the cookie cutter thing that someone else has on their screen. Like, you don't move forward. But what you're seeing when you look at somebody else's like overnight success, which I don't believe happens at all, is the result of hundreds, if not thousands, of tiny steps that were taken, and micro efforts, and setbacks, and things that happened and stacked over time till they built something big. So instead of trying to sprint your way to someone else's finish line, just start by taking what are those tiny steps. So how you start to do that, like, start by asking yourself, like, where has this comparison been maybe keeping me stuck? Is it in my creativity? Is it the way I parent, my business, my health, like whatever it is? And then, define like, what's that minimal viable action you can take? What's the smallest step that you could do that still moves you forward? I'm just going to write a paragraph or something. I'm going to take 1 minute to stretch. I'm going to, send one thoughtful message, to somebody. I'm going to go have an encouraging conversation with my child. Like, whatever it is, the rule to follow is like, it should be so small that like you'd feel silly not doing it. You're not trying to build Rome. You're just laying down one brick and saying, all right, we're getting started. Now as you make it visible, like, you want to track it. So a simple calendar with like X's of days you did it, the sticky note that checks things off, the quick end-of-day journal entry that you identify those things. Like, it's not about, like, you're not doing this to be any sort of like hyper productive. You're just doing it because comparison creeps in again and again and again. And even when you get your mind wrapped around it, and I'm even telling you what things to do, it still comes in on me. Like, and so you're like, gosh, I've been showing up, like, you need the evidence to say, like, I've been showing up the right way, I'm in the right motion, I'm building the momentum I need to get to where I want to go. And so once that tiny step becomes second nature to you, you can start to stack it. Instead of one sentence, you're going to write 2 sentences. Instead of stretching for 1 minute, you're going to stretch for 2 minutes. Not because you should, but because your capacity is growing and you allow yourself to grow at that pace. Progress stacking lets you, your growth grow with you as a part of that. Now, comparison tends to shrink our self-belief, and this is about stacking to build that momentum. This idea of a micro momentum builder helps you stop waiting to be ready and just start becoming ready through the action you're taking, one small step at a time. So like, no more like, I'll start Monday, or like, start today, do it, and then do it again tomorrow. And before you know it, you're going to build something like steady, something real, and it's going to be one quiet, maybe unrecognizable brick that people have that they don't know that you're doing at a time, but until it starts to build where it becomes this massive thing that people can't ignore. And then, of course, last principle, like, you need to be your journey architect. Like, build what you were born for, not what you've been told to want. As we wrap this up, like, this is something that it's really big. It's not heavy, but it's big in its power that it has in your life. Seeing like everything we've talked about, clarity, compassion, comparison, micro momentum, like, it leads to like, you're becoming the architect of your own journey, not the bystander, not the responder, not the clone of somebody else's. Most of us don't live by a design. We live by default. reacting to what's in front of us, following the familiar patterns, the programming, the things that we already have in us, trying to keep up with expectations that were told to us and handed to us, not chosen by us. And when you live that way, you like, it's no wonder comparison comes in and starts crushing you. You're just going into that programmed mode, because you haven't actually defined success looks like to you. So of course, everyone else seems ahead. Like, you're not even sure where your finish line or where you're headed. So this is where this idea of a journey architect, becoming your journey architect, like, is so important. It's about choosing to build the path that's deeply aligned with who you are, that lights you up, and makes the kind of impact that you want to make, even if that path looks nothing like anybody else's. That's okay. So here's how you get started. You're going to want to set aside some time. Now, it might be a little bit bigger time, so this might be where you find 30 minutes to an hour, no distractions, and you just let yourself imagine. And I say really imagine, like, your life in 3 to 5 years. If you want to really ramp it up, think of it from, like, what's the 10-year version of me? Not someone else's version I saw on Instagram, but, like, not the life that checks all the boxes, but could very much leave you numb. Like, what's your version? What's the Jake version, or the fill in the blank of your name, because your name may not be Jake? What does your day look like? Who are around you? What work are you doing? What are you giving? What are you receiving? And more importantly, how do you feel in your own skin? Think about it from this way. There's 3 currencies in life: time, energy, and money. Where do I want to spend my time? Where do I want to spend my energy? Where do I want energy back? Where do I want time back? Where do I want to be making my, like, how does that look like day to day? Who am I interacting with? Like, write it down. Don't filter it. Like, is this practical or whatever? Just envision what that could be, and then ask yourself, like, what has to be true, no matter what, for me to feel aligned? These are going to start to become your non-negotiables. Like, it might be time with your kids, or that creative expression, or space for stillness, work that feels like service, not performance. Like, these become that compass, that idea of we're pushing forward, the things you measure as your, like, yeses and nos against anything. Like, I'm going to do this, I'm not going to do that. And then from there, you create a decision filter that anytime you're presented with opportunity, or tempted by somebody else's highlight reel, you can say, well, does this move me towards my vision? Or somebody else's? Does this honor what I actually said that matters to me? Or does it pull me out of alignment with that? This filter, like, it doesn't just help you make choices, but it helps you stay connected with what you're trying to build. Because, like, the moments you stop trying to live somebody else's dream, start living your own, like, when that happens, like, comparison will lose its grip more and more. You become a journey architect. You don't have that, like, FOMO focus. Like, you're no longer approval chasing to find some sort of inner peace in any sort of a way. You're just building on what you have, and you're moving past what you see everybody else's path on, and being in your own path moving forward. So as we, like, wrap this up, as we get everything together, like, if you've ever looked around and thought, like, why doesn't it seem like everyone else is moving faster than me, doing more than me? Like, I want you to remember, like, it's okay. You're on your own path, your own journey. You're not behind, you're not late, you're not on a different road. You haven't done something incorrectly. Like, the path that you're walking, it's not a knockoff version of somebody else's. It's yours. It has its own pace, its own rhythm, its own purpose. And it's not wrong. It's just because, like, it's not wrong that yours doesn't look like theirs in any way possible. Everything we talked about today in the different, aspects and everything, these aren't just ways, to fight comparison. They actually build a life that actually is going to feel more like yours, because what nobody else is saying, no one else is going to tell you, is that when you're in the deep scroll or indulging in the fog of not enough, the people that you're comparing yourself against to, they've got their own struggles you never see. They've got their own fears you never hear, and they probably are looking at somebody else thinking the exact same thing. That's why there's this concept I even covered in the book a lot of imposter syndrome. So the truth is, like, it's out there. Like, comparison is never going to go away. But now you've got these tools that you can start to do to change your perspective. And more importantly, you've now got the ability to give yourself freedom to stop measuring your worth against somebody else's timeline. And so here's what you do. Pick one of the things we talked about. You don't have to, please don't do all of them. You'll overwhelm yourself. Just pick one. And don't be afraid of doing it imperfectly. It's okay to just try it. And if you mess up, it's okay. Pick one that made your shoulders drop a little. The one that felt like a breath of air, instead of another thing that you have to go fix. Start there. Start small. It's going to be messy, but let it be yours, okay? Because you weren't made to replicate somebody else's highlight reel. You were made to walk with your own gifts and superpowers, to develop them and to give them out, not someday, but now, from exactly where you are. Now, if this hit home with you today, or you feel like you know somebody that could benefit from this, share the video with them if they're caught in that same sort of a loop. Drop a comment, let me know which of the principles stuck out to you the most. And if you want to dive deeper into rediscovering your gifts and your superpowers, building the life that actually aligns with who you are, then go down the description, go to Amazon, get yourself a copy of The Giver Method. It's some of the best, $10 that you could invest in yourself in getting that book. Check us out at givermethod.com, go find us on all the social media, all that type of stuff. Thank you so much for being here with me. I know how heavy this stuff can feel, but I know that what's possible when you start walking in your own direction, not somebody else's. It's going to be amazing what you start to see and how your life starts to change. Once again, my name is Jake Talbot. Until next time, just keep showing up, keep giving from your gifts and superpowers. Remember this, that the comparison fades when you fully engage in building what's going to be real and authentic to you. So please keep building. And with that, until next time, I'll say catch you in our next video. Have a great rest of your day.